So one of my most anticipated releases for 2022 has been the fourth and final installment of the Ninth Doctor's first season with Big Finish, a box set called Old Friends. And what I'm showing you on screen now is the original clean box art for Old Friends. It's got the Ninth Doctor there. We've got an older version of the Brigadier, as seen from the Sarah Jane Adventures. You know, with the flat cap, with the white beard and everything. So yeah, that looks cool. I'm looking forward to the Ninth Doctor and the Brigadier. Oh, cool. And then the day of release, Big Finish decide, no, Mondasian Cybermen are now on the cover, and they drop a whole trailer about like the history of the Cybermen with Christopher Eccleston narration.
Cybermen, no matter how long I live, no matter how far I go, they always turn up eventually. Imagine a city in the future, on a planet, on a spaceship, a world shaped in pain. Where isn't important. But there were people there, cold and dying. And like everyone else, they fought to survive, sacrificing, straining. You had to admire their grit.
How's that for a reference, by the way? The Revenge of the Cyberman helmet in Henry Van Statten's museum, and the Doctor says, old friend of mine, well, enemy, and the box set is called Old Friends. Oh, Big Finish, you sly as hell. So yeah, this is the basically the series finale of the Ninth Doctor Adventures for Series 1. We know that they've got another series coming out over the next year and a half to 2 years, so this is not the last that we're going to be hearing of Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. But as a finale, we've got 3 stories. We've got Fond Farewell by David K. Barnes, we've got Way of the Buryman by Roy Gill, and The Fourth Generation, also by Roy Gill. Those last 2 being written by Roy Gill basically comprise a 2-part finale, with Fond Farewell by David K. Barnes being almost the equivalent to Boomtown or Closing Time from Series 1 and Series 6 respectively. Fond Farewell is set in an intergalactic funeral parlour. The Doctor has been invited to a funeral, and basically, if you're rich enough, you're able to attend your own funeral, or your consciousness is uploaded into a synthetic robot, and you're able to have your friends and family give you a genuine or almost genuine, authentic goodbye. But I will not just explain the premise, we'll let the story itself do that. Here's a clip.
So they're not the same bodies?
No, the real body's in the coffin. What we're seeing over there is some kind of synthetic. Like the staff, but better. Totally lifelike. They look, sound, smell, even feel like the original.
What about their memories?
Yep, every one of them. Even unlocks the ones you forgot. It can be a real blessing for families, after what they've coped with.
So Flint's consciousness, or a copy of it, is in that body, good as new. What's to stop him getting out?
Run away. Live forever.
The age-old dream.
The process has a very short lifespan, I think. I'm sure it's all in the T's and C's. It's just to let you have a last goodbye.
If you can afford it.
Yep. This afternoon probably cost more than a whole planet.
That's a lot of book deals. So, do you want to?
What? Talk to him?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure I could.
It's our last chance. And he's coming this way.
Oh, no. Sorry, I can't. Please.
You'll regret walking away, trust me.
Really?
Go on.
It's a really cool premise for a story, and I also like what Fond Farewell did structurally, where it starts with the Doctor arriving at this funeral parlour. He says he's been invited, and then we actually learn through flashback that he knows the person who is in the coffin, who is in the casket, whose memory has been uploaded into this synthetic person, so he's able to spend time with his loved ones and his friends, and they experience that through flashback. I think that was a really cool way to be able to tell the story and also just liven up the setting as well, because it's more or less it becomes a murder mystery, basically. It's murder at the funeral parlour with the Ninth Doctor. It's a pretty cool version of, Ninth Doctor murder mystery. I think that the setting carries it a lot, as does the performance in the Ninth Doctor. Christopher Eccleston is on incredible form as always. I think the moral dilemma at the heart of it, because something is not quite right with the person who has been brought back to life. Professor Flynn Beckett, played by James Doherty, he's got some of his memories missing. He invited the Doctor when he was still alive to go to his funeral. However, when he turns up at the funeral, he does not recognise the Ninth Doctor. Something's going on here. His memories have been tampered with. But why and to what ends? That's what the Ninth Doctor is trying to figure out. I think the actual moral dilemma at the heart of the story about, what was your reason and motive for the memory wipe, saying it to no one in particular as to not to spoil the story. The whole, you have to do this because people are dying because something goes wrong, and there is a body count culminating in the funeral parlour outside of the scheduled funeral, the scheduled death. I'm curious as to whether or not the correct moral decision, or correct in the context of this story, would have been made if there wasn't a pile up of bodies. I'm not sure if the person who needed to make that moral call would have done so without that push, which I think takes a little bit out of the story. And also the character where the moral dilemma has to culminate around is barely present throughout the story. They're not actually a big established player. They're there, they're present, but the story doesn't really focus on them that much, and I think the story loses a little bit something in the third act because of it. It's set up really well. I like how the Ninth Doctor just basically pretends that he's there as an inspector. He uses the psychic paper, and he's just able to flaunt his authority, and the staff members there are just like, we can't be, just fix this for us, please, we beg you, we don't know what's going on. I think that was a nice lamp shading of the Doctor just using the psychic paper for everything. I feel like I'm maybe underselling it, because this was a strong story. It was just the thing that really stuck out to me after I'd finished listening to it. So it's structurally interesting. I love the setting, and the performances across the board are really strong, and I did like the way it ended. It does lead into the Doctor deciding, I after the events of this story, I'm going to go see my best friend. I'm going to go leave things not unsaid to people in my life who I have a deep abiding respect for. Of course, that's the Brigadier, played by John Coleshaw, formerly played by Nicholas Courtney in the TV series, which leads us to the two-part finale, Way of the Burymen and the Fourth Generation. Fond Farewell, it's a strong story, but I do feel like it is the weakest of the set. It is emotionally kind of primes everything up for the finale, but I do think it drops the ball a little bit in the third act. I think it sets up an interesting moral dilemma, and then just sort of hand waves it away just for the sake of the story. The big decision and the big culmination happens off screen, or whatever the equivalent of off screen is for an audio drama, if that makes sense. We never actually see it happen or hear it happen. But it was still good. I still enjoyed Fond Farewell a lot, and David K. Barnes did a really good job with the story, with the exception of just how it handled the emotional climax of it. I still think it was really strong, a really good and unique setting. It did feel quite Douglas Adams, with of course a sprinkling of Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror, for the idea of technology bringing people back, not just for the sake of the person, but it's more for the friends and for the family, but it's only for those who can afford it. And if you're able to afford it and you're able to exert that influence, exert that authority, then maybe you're able to sort of manipulate the version of the person who comes back. Maybe it's a rose-tinted version of the person whose life you're celebrating. Maybe because you're rich, you're able to buy your own emotional closure. There's some really great ideas in the story, and for the most part, it does stick the landing. It's just with that big moral decision at the end, where the character who's responsible for the events that have resulted in numerous deaths, were they pushed, or would they have got to that decision on their own? And did they even really learn their lesson? It's not a sort of ambiguity that feels deliberate in the story. It just feels we've got 5 minutes left because we're nearly at the 60-minute runtime of a Big Finish story. Let's come on, let's wrap this up. You've got the Brigadier to meet, okay? That's what it kind of felt like. Still really strong though. I still enjoyed Fond Farewell a lot. But the highlight of this set is the two-part Cyberman Brigadier Ninth Doctor team-up finale. So on the box set as well, you may see Warren Brown, who's from Praxeus, but he's playing a different character. He's playing Sam Bishop, and I know nothing about Sam Bishop. He is a character who has apparently been in a lot of Big Finish box sets. He's a character from Big Finish. This is his origin story. So not only is this a Ninth Doctor and Brigadier crossover, you've got the Mondasian Cybermen, and you've you've also got a Sam Bishop origin story here, but it doesn't feel like there's so much going on. It doesn't feel like, it's cramming in this stuff. He actually does feel like a good extension of the story, a good tuned-in supporting character with military training, and at the end it's like, oh, the Doctor recommends you for this thing, and maybe this whole other stuff can happen. It works quite well in its own context of the story. But even without the Mondasian Cybermen being here, and revealed on the day of release, which was mad, the big unique selling point of this was the Doctor, the Ninth Doctor, meeting the Brigadier. It feels like a rite of passage for every Doctor, and I'm so glad that Christopher Eccleston got his moment. Let's play a clip.
I'm sorry, but who are you, sir?
The Doctor!
The Doctor? Well, now I know I'm seeing things. You can't possibly be.
Well, there's charming. How not?
Well, for a start. What happened to your hair?
It's practical. Anyway, like you can talk, Silver Fox.
I say.
Strong look, though. Sarah Jane always knew you'd go distinguished. Or was that Harry?
Sarah Jane. And Harry. Lieutenant Sullivan. My, it really is you, isn't it, Doctor? Regenerated. And again.
Quick as ninepence, me.
A doctor with a buzz cut. Well, I never. We'll make a soldier out of you yet.
Don't. What are you doing, falling off a cliff, you daft old man?
Would you believe? Talking to ghosts.
Really? Did they listen?
I rather think the poor fellow was trapped in his world and I in mine.
But you tried. You reached out.
I had to. Only decent thing to do.
Oh, it's good to see you, Brigadier. Come here.
Now, steady on, Doctor.
Don't ever change, will you?
When it comes to Ninth Doctor finales, Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways casts a biblical shadow. Now, by the fact that this does not have, everything leading up to Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, Way of the Buryman and the Fourth Generation can never quite be as good as the Series 1 finale that we got on screen. But this was still a brilliant finale to what Big Finish have been doing over the past year. Way of the Buryman is a great setup story as well. Roy Gill is able to channel a lot of his historical expertise and knowledge of Scotland. Now, if you're thinking this has been a whole season of Ninth Doctor Adventures from Big Finish, you're probably thinking, Mr. TARDIS, what was the Bad Wolf equivalent? It was Scotland. Not the word Scotland, but the setting of Scotland. And it wasn't until it was pointed out in the behind the scenes that it all kind of clicked, because Respond to All Calls has a story called Girl Deconstructed, which is set in Scotland. In the third box set, he meets the actual Lady Macbeth and the actual Macbeth. Almost all of the box sets have featured like the Doctor and the TARDIS going to Scotland for an adventure, and apparently that was a deliberate choice. Way of the Buryman and the Fourth Generation centre around the fourth bridge in Scotland, which was this. You may have already seen. Let's bring it up on screen. Actually, you may have seen it in postcards and stuff like that. But it's this massive, epic, big red bridge. This huge feat of the Industrial Revolution in Scotland at the end of the 19th century. It's about a mile and a half long, tens of millions of tons of steel. This massive accomplishment in engineering to pull off over the Firth of Forth. And it was, of course, as many things in the Industrial Revolution, was something that was built off of a huge body count. The people and the boys as well, the labour that was used to build it, and the unknown, the list of the dead responsible for putting together the fourth bridge. And that's something that this story, Way of the Buryman and the Fourth Generation, actively has on its mind. You've got the character, you've got Sam Bishop's girlfriend, Fiona, played by Eleanor Lawless, who's a historian in Scotland who is trying to find the names of everybody who built the bridge and have a monument, to have some sort of actual certified historical document to get the credit that they deserve for the feat, so that their names are not lost to time. And I thought that whole appreciation of the working class solidarity, is an undercurrent that's been throughout all of the Ninth Doctor stories or these Ninth Doctor box sets, and it was great to see it present in such a brilliant way. But it's also the idea that there may be Cybermen inside of the hollow metal casings of the bridge, which is brilliant. There's some great Cyberman moments here, including one which feels semi-inspired by that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, when the pirates take an underwater walk. That is something I would love to see on screen, but Big Finish did get to it first in the audio medium. Brilliant, haunting set piece. Nicholas Briggs is playing a Mondasian Cyberman who's been trying to awaken the Cybermen inside of the bridge and upgrade humanity. It is a similar performance to something like in the Silver Turk, where you've got this Cyberman who is a survivor, who wants to try and rebuild the Cybermen forces, not because they're a force of domination, but because they're a force of survival. That sort of more sympathetic, fragile and frail portrayal. And I think that Nicholas Briggs, of course, does a terrific job. It's kind of standard at this point, but it needs pointing out that Nicholas Briggs does a great job as the Cybermen, whether they are the Mondasian ones or the slightly upgraded versions that we get later on in the story. So yeah, I thought this was a really strong finale. There was real great tangible stakes. There's a real emotional attachment to all of the characters, from Sam, Fiona. The Brigadier was a great inclusion as well. Alex Runic Composer says, is Briggs using the same voice as Wood Enough in Time, or is it different? It's Mondasian. It's the sing-song version, like you've heard from Silver Turk or Spare Parts. If I do have one issue with this two-parter, it's that you've got the Ninth Doctor teamed up with the Brigadier, and there's great mileage from that dynamic. They work really well together. It's great. Christopher Eccleston is so enthusiastic. John Coleshaw is terrific as always. I just wish they got a little bit more mileage out of the fact that the Doctor has recently come out of military service, or that he's just been in the middle of a massive war, and it's never really brought up or addressed. There's a lot going on in the story. I'm glad that for the sake of just this story, that Roy Gill is brilliantly crafted here, that they didn't stop everything to interrupt it. It would have hurt the pacing maybe. But I do think in terms of the characters removed from the plot, I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity. They don't really delve into it that much, and I wish that they did. Tom Blacklock says he doesn't want to talk about it. True, but the Brigadier doesn't really push him on it. And I think that, I'm not saying that I wanted a scene where the Ninth Doctor's like, oh, Brigadier, this is terrible, 10 million ships on fire. I don't want that. And I've also criticised other Big Finish Ninth Doctor box sets before Christopher Eccleston was brought on board for repeating that trope, because I think there's so much more to the Ninth Doctor than that. However, I think when you have the Brigadier, military man Brigadier, that's when you bring it up. That's when you do it. And I think it's a little bit disappointing. Like I said, I don't want them to go onto massive scene-long tangents, but I think there is something to be mined there. There's something there that's never really explored. A little bit disappointing, but what we do get is brilliant. I think if you were going to, like Tom Blacklock says, I think they want to preserve the illusion of this airing before Rose and that being the first time he confides in someone about it. I think there's a happy medium, though. I also think that you can't quite divorce the fans listening to this with their prior experience with the Ninth Doctor, knowing that happens with Rose. I'm not expecting the Ninth Doctor to take the Brigadier onto a packed London street and offer him chips, and they go out on a first date or something, and he's like, my planet's gone, it burnt like the Earth. I'm not expecting that. I'm maybe just expecting something. Maybe maybe the Brigadier notices how this Doctor carries himself, and he asks him. Maybe he prods him on something, and the Ninth Doctor maybe shuts him down. And I think that would be enough. If that happened, I think that's the happy medium. Harry says, I like the hints at it. I like how the Brig almost instantly picks up on it. I think he picks up on it, but I think the Brigadier would push him on it. I think once the Brigadier realised, I'm not going to get anywhere, but we've got a task at hand, that's the way to play it. It's still a great finale. It's a great finale to this box set. It's a terrific story as well. There's an incredible scene as well where they're setting up the fourth bridge, and the Ninth Doctor, Sam and Fiona are on a boat on their way, and they're going under the bridge, and they're expositing about it and talking about the cost of industry and the magnificence of the bridge, and Howard Carter's Ninth Doctor theme picks up, and it's such a great scene. Like, so much energy. The bridge remembers. It's one of the best scenes of like the entire Ninth Doctor range so far. This story is just imbued with so many terrific scenes and moments like that. It absolutely is. It's. I think this is a terrific end to what has been a brilliant run of Ninth Doctor stories, and I'm so happy that we live in this timeline where the Ninth Doctor has returned for not one, not two, not three, but 4 full box sets of adventures, with 4 more on the way. It's been great. It's been a great journey, a great finale, and it's so clever to have the Cybermen in Monsters of Metropolis in the 3rd box set, Lost Warriors, and burying the lead for Old Friends. Very clever. That was, yeah, mwah, love it. Very happy. TFL Creative Media says maybe the Brig is more humble in his old age. I still think that the Brigadier, maybe younger Brigadier would have pushed until the Doctor snapped, but I think the older Brigadier would have pushed, realised this was not going to go anywhere, and then left him. The Vacuum of Comments says, do we know if we're going to get Rose and future box sets? We have no details on upcoming Ninth Doctor stories with the exception of their release dates. The next one comes out in May. We do know that Billy Piper has been recording Rose box sets for the Dimension canon at Big Finish. It could happen. But what I just want to wrap up. Tom Blackwood says, I was lucky enough to talk to Roy Gill on Twitter about it. He's a lovely guy. Oh, yeah, he's a terrific writer. I'm glad that he's like one of the Big Finish, like, big guns, and I'm glad that they brought him in for this finale. He did a terrific job. I'd love to interview him, maybe chat with him about it. That'd be great. But one thing that I've loved about this as well, and like Christopher Eccleston has been very open about him returning because of the pandemic and work dried up, and Big Finish offered him, good money to do it, so he did it because it was a job, it was paid work. And, Chad Eccleston just cutting straight through the formalities and saying that, but he's still present in that booth. In Old Friends, there's a reference to the crinoids. Christopher Eccleston, I'm certain he does not know what a crinoid is, but I think if you tried to explain it to him, he would just politely say, mate, I don't care. I don't care what a crinoid is. But when he's talking about it in the recording booth, he's present, and he makes you believe that he cares about the reference, that he cares about the callback. In a performance that is fantastic. And Aidan Woodhead says he's enjoying it, which is what counts. Yeah, I'm so glad. I mentioned this before in my Trip of a Lifetime video, that I'm so happy that not only did Eccleston return, but he's had a great time recording these box sets, that a character that he loved playing, but the on-screen logistics of bringing that character to life he's had negative connotations with for several years, for like a decade and a half. He now has some positivity attached to it thanks to Big Finish. And Big Finish released a 30-second clip on their social medias today of Christopher Eccleston in the recording booth for the box set. Now, this doesn't have any spoilers in it, I promise, but yeah, listen to Christopher Eccleston and watch him as well performing in the booth as the Ninth Doctor.
Good grief. Oh, shut up. You will. You're like this big old bridge looming over us, Alistair. In a universe of uncertainty, you're a constant. You're a good friend and a good man.
What's it doing?
Interrogating the structure, searching for memory engrams, copying them to internal storage. Should be able to run the memory arc from here. They're not your family. They're an army of Cybermen, and I've set them free.
That's such a great clip. That's such a great clip. And also, like, obviously, with respect, how handsome does Eccleston look in just a black shirt? Is it just me? Slight facial hair, big Chad arms, in a black shirt. Chad Eccleston. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Chat, let me know. But yeah, he's present for it. It was a paid job, of course, but he's not selling out. This is he's back as the Ninth Doctor. I would love to chat with Eccleston at some point if I could, interview him about the performance, and because he mentioned in the first behind the scenes set for the Ravagers that it only took him like a couple of minutes in the recording booth to fall back into the habits and the instincts of playing the Ninth Doctor again. And I'd love to just know in his words what those instincts and what that process is to just become the Ninth Doctor again. Just love to chat with him about it. Tom Blackwell says, Mr. Tardis, your crush is showing. Yeah, he's right here. Here we go. Chad Eccleston.